Windows 11 has caused me to ditch Windows altogether and finally try Linux instead. Look, I've got zero Linux skills and even less patience to learn an entire new operating system. Is this a real alternative to Windows, and just how much of a learning curve is there? I mean, let's be honest, there really isn't a wow Windows 11 feature, and of course a lot of you have been pretty vocal about switching to Linux and absolutely loving it. So I said screw it and decided to give this Linux thing a try. Oh, I'm going to say Linux, I'm going to say Linux, potato, get over it. All I want is something with no learning curve, and that's when I found Zorin 16. The darn thing looks and feels a lot like Windows, complete with a start button and menus. Okay, but what about Windows apps? Yes, those are there too. Everything from Zoom to Discord to password managers and everything in between. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, and more on that shortly. So, are you ready to install Linux? Well, you've got a couple of options. You can either go all in, do a clean installation of Zorin, removing Windows 10 or Windows 11 and everything on your computer. I personally wouldn't recommend that as a first go. What I did was install Zorin inside a Windows 10 virtual machine so that I can still run Windows whilst I'm getting used to Zorin and making sure it's a good fit. Sounds super complicated, but it's really easy, and I'm going to show you the exact steps I took so you can do the same. You know what else I'm done with? Is the trash in our ocean. So I am part of Team Seas, which is headed by Mark Rober and Mr. Beast, and together with thousands of YouTubers and content creators from around the world, we are raising $30 million. And for each dollar that we raise, 1 pound of trash will be removed from the ocean. So instead of having that one extra cappuccino this month, donate that money to Team Seas. Link is in the description below, and let's put an end to this problem. Now that you've done it, let's get back to the video. Okay, step number 1, let's grab the Zorin 16 installation file. Okay, let's start off by going to zorin.com. Link will be in the description below, of course. Now, when you get to the website, you want to click on the word download. Surprise! And under the download, there you're going to see Zorin OS 16 Pro. The one that we're going to be installing today is going to be the core version. You know, we just want to understand whether we like this or not. There's even a light version in case your PC is really, really old. You can actually install it on that. So let's start by going onto the core version. Click on the download, save the ISO file to your computer, put in your email address if you want to, and then let's head over to the next step. Okay, step number 2, let's grab VMware. Now, if you haven't used VMware before, it's a superb piece of software that sets up a virtual computer inside your Windows 10. So it's like having an entire computer basically within the computer. We're going to use the free version, but there is a paid for version which just gives you more customization. So let's do that next. Right, let's head over to the VMware website. Link will be in the description below, just easier to click on that. We want to download the VMware workstation. And if you scroll further down on this page, there it is. Click on the download now. Save the application to your computer, let it finish downloading, and when it is, simply double click on it and then follow the prompt and install it. Okay, step number 3, the installation. Now that you have the virtual machine ready, now let's install Zorin. Okay, this is where it all comes together. Simply double click on the VMware Workstation Player, click on Create a New Virtual Machine. Click on the installer and then click on Browse. What we're looking for is that ISO file, the one that we just downloaded, the core file. Click on that, click on Open, and then click on Next. Right, on the next screen, it should automatically select Linux, but if it doesn't, simply click on it. And then underneath the version, there's a drop-down option there. We want to select the one that says Ubuntu 64-bit. Once we've got that, click on Next. On the screen, this allows you to give it a label, give it a title, something that you'll recognize what this virtual machine is. I'm going to call it My Zorin as my one. Click on Next. Right, on this section, it's going to say, okay, what's the maximum disk size space that you want to give this particular virtual machine? It says 20 gigs. I'm going to choose mine to be 30 gigs. Right underneath that, I also select Store Virtual Disk as a single file. We're not moving this thing around. It's staying on one computer. And then click on Next, and then click on Finished. Okay, we're almost ready to get this thing installed. Now, what we want to do is click on Edit Virtual Machine Settings. And here you'll see that it's allocated 4 gigs of memory. I think that should be enough. You can obviously increase that if you want to. Make your selection, click on OK, and now we're ready to click on Play Virtual Machine, which is when we do the actual installation. And there you'll see a screen that looks like this. Select that first option of try and install Zorin, and then let it do its thing. Now you'll see it looks all wonky. Now remember, I'm trying to screen record this on a big computer, and every time I try and maximize and move things around, it just bounces back. It's not going to look super weird on your computer. Click on Install Zorin. Now, erase disk and install Zorin. This is where normally people panic. Remember, it's a virtual machine. It's only going to deal with that 20 or 30 gigs that you've allocated to it. It's fine. Click on Continue. It doesn't destroy the rest of your computer if you follow the prompts correctly. And then just let it run to finish the installation process. And you'll see I'm still within my Windows 10. I don't have to touch my Windows 10 at all. In fact, let me zoom out and you can see Windows 10 is there and Zorin has now booted. I simply click in it, put in my password, and ta-da! There it is. Welcome to Zorin OS 16. Now that Zorin is fully installed, I can actually maximize it and take advantage of the screen. And there is my welcome tour. I can simply go next, and follow that or close that all together. Look at that. The start button's there. This looks exceptionally familiar. Anyone should be able to simply pick this up. A full Linux environment driven by a GUI interface. How friggin' epic is that? Okay, you gotta admit, it's not what you were expecting, right? Certainly not what I was expecting. So next up, let's move on to step number 4, which is installing some apps. And then I'm gonna show you one very, very important app you must have. Oh, if you're a Linux user right now, we would love to know what some of your favorite apps are, so us noobs can actually start installing and getting to love the system even more. Leave us a comment below. Just like Windows, there is actually a store for all your software. The first time you do that, it's going to take a little time downloading all the catalog. But once it's done, well, next time you go into it, ta-da, there are all your apps. You'll see some of your favorite ones like Dropbox, etc. And some of them you actually have to search for. So let me show you how that goes. In the top, click the magnifying glass, type what you want to search for. Let's just say it's Zoom, and well, there it is. So typically the big question is, what about Office? Well, Zorin OS actually comes in pre-installed with a LibreOffice or LibreOffice, I never know how to say that, and that has got the equivalent of your spreadsheet, which it comes in the form of Calc, and I mean, tell me this doesn't look like Excel. Then you open up something called Writer, and that looks exactly like Word, and then if you want to do presentation, well, you've got something called Impress, click on that, and well, there's your PowerPoint. Oh, and did I mention it's completely free? So let's move on to step number 5, which is all about wine. No, not that kind of wine, but it's an app called Wine. This is an app that lets you run Windows apps inside your Linux. So if there is that one special Windows app that you absolutely must have, Wine is a kind of translator. It knows how Windows would talk to that app, so now Wine takes that information and translates how Linux would talk to that app, basically allowing you to run Windows apps inside Linux. Right, you open up your software, do a search for Wine, W-I-N-E, so yeah, like the real wine. There is a software you want to install, simply click on that and then read all about it and then click the install button. Now you'll have to authenticate so that it knows you've got enough permission to do that. Now another one that you want to install is something called Proton, especially if you're a gamer. You need to have both of them together, and that will allow you to have all the flexibility of Windows on your Linux box. So have a play with Zorin and see if it's for you. And if you want to do the same with Windows 11 without removing Windows 10, well, there's a video right over here showing you how to do that. Or check out this video over here that YouTube thinks you should watch. Hit the head down here to subscribe if you like this kind of tech stuff. And I'll see you in this video, or I'll see you in both. Let's go.